For 4 years, the American trucking industry has been suffocating in an economic flatline. But in 2026, the pulse is finally returning. Across the country, spot rates in key freight markets are suddenly surging. Refrigerated and dry van routes are now seeing guaranteed increases between 4 and 10%. This line graph tracks the load-to-truck ratio to show exactly how we got here. When the pandemic hit, consumer buying habits shifted wildly to home goods, creating a massive spike in freight demand. At the peak, 240 loads waited for every truck. This gold rush lured thousands of unqualified carriers. But the moment demand normalized, the math inverted. Truck supply vastly overpowered freight, violently crashing rates down to a starvation level of $1.80 per mile. Small fleets going bankrupt naturally wasn't enough to correct that math. The rate spike we are seeing today is the direct result of a forced multivariable purge of the entire industry. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is currently executing an aggressive regulatory crackdown. They are actively erasing chameleon carriers and illegal capacity from the market. The government is using raw financial leverage to enforce this. The Department of Transportation recently withheld $73 million in highway funding from New York for failing to revoke illegally issued commercial driver's licenses. At the same time, regulators are stripping certification from electronic logging devices that contain software actors. These devices previously allowed fleets to hide illegal driving miles and stay on the road longer than permitted. They have also implemented strict new identity verification requirements for the Federal Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, permanently locking out drivers with severe safety violations. By systematically removing thousands of non-compliant drivers and trucks, these safety regulations act as a brutal economic lever. They artificially strangle the supply of active trucks, which forces freight rates up for the survivors. For legal fleets surviving this federal purge, higher freight rates do not equal higher profits. Those gains are instantly devoured by skyrocketing operational overhead. Record high cargo theft and multi-million-dollar nuclear verdicts in liability courts have triggered an insurance crisis. Underwriters are now punishing human-driven fleets with massive mandatory premium hikes. Looking at this digital driver's log, you can see the precise time tracking required to stay compliant. The refined 2026 hours of service rules introduce a new 7-3 sleeper berth split, giving drivers more flexibility to rest. Yet even with that split, every driver is still constrained by a rigid 14-hour on-duty window. The moment that clock runs out, the truck must stop, placing a hard, unyielding cap on human productivity. When you combine equipment, fuel, insurance, and the physical limits of human endurance, operating a human-driven truck in 2026 now costs approximately $3.78 for every single mile driven. The sheer weight of legal risk and fatigue compliance has stretched the traditional human-in-the-cab business model to its absolute breaking point. Exactly as human capacity is being squeezed out, new commercially viable autonomous trucks are pulling onto the highway. Bot Auto has reached commercial humanless operation. Their 231-mile run from Houston to Dallas hauled active over-the-road freight overnight, arriving on time without a single person aboard the vehicle. Corporate adoption is scaling right alongside it. Aurora Innovation just secured a massive agreement to deploy 500 autonomous trucks directly into Hirschbach's active fleet. This side-by-side comparison reveals the stark mathematical reality of the market. An AI system doesn't have hours of service limits, mandatory sleep breaks, or federal drug tests. As a result, an autonomous truck operates for exactly $1.89 per mile. Automated trucks are the exact mathematical answer to the federal safety purge and the overhead squeeze currently destroying human fleets. The American trucking industry has reached a new, permanent equilibrium. The era where anyone with a commercial license and a used rig could jump into the market to chase a quick buck is completely dead. For human fleets, there is only one path to survival. They must operate as elite, data-driven businesses, rigorously tracking their own telematics to satisfy both strict insurers and federal regulators. Those who cannot afford the massive compliance overhead are being phased out, leaving the remaining capacity to be filled by autonomous platforms. The 4-year freight recession was a ruthless clearing of the highway, designed to force the entire industry into an automated future.